sometimes we try to relieve too much stress out of our life, but you just have to deal with it. The notion that, it's like you don't want stress and we would like to relieve our life of stress. So we think of unpopular opinions about it. Stress is going to be there if we just learn how to manage and control it.
Hi friends, welcome to Who's Missing. Now, whether or not you're listening to this episode as the first episode of the season is one thing, but know this, it's the first one we recorded for season 3, so I'm especially pumped to start a new season and to reflect on everything that's brought us here. It's been such an adventure, and I'm really excited for this guest. Ethan Lim is a chef and the owner of an unbelievable restaurant, Hermosa, here in Chicago. Ethan is such a sweetheart. I mean that sincerely. He is hospitable, he is accommodating, he is intense in a way that you really appreciate. And in this episode, we talk all about stress, which I think is something we all deal with intimately, every day, at varying degrees. Ethan's opinion about stress might surprise you, or you might relate to it. But he's got some incredible insights to share about what it's like to work in a pretty stereotypically stressful environment. I hope you enjoy it. I'm Emily Drake, and this is Who's Missing. It's so good to see you.
Likewise, it's been a moment.
It has been a moment. It's been since it was a completely different temperature outside, actually. It was very cold last time I saw you.
I'm wearing sandals as we speak compared to last time.
So the toes are out today. What kind of sandals do you like?
Oh, these are like the cushion gym sandals that are padded. It's all about comfort these days.
100%. Are you a Crocs guy or no?
I can be a Crocs guy. Yeah.
I'm getting ready for a birthday in my family. The kid in my life is turning 9. And they don't have Crocs yet. You know what I'm saying? So we'll see. This could be the birthday, but it's like I had to get a pair because they're everywhere.
Yeah. They're at a point where you can accessorize them to be your Croc too.
That's right. When you were growing up, what was the thing in your life that you could make your own and personalize in your generation? I think we're the same generation, but what was it for you?
Oh, we have to think about it.
Yeah, because I was talking about this with Arnie, my partner. I was thinking about there used to be these necklaces that were like chains that you could hang charms from. That was a big one. Remember those?
The seashell necklaces?
Totally. But I think personalization is such a rite of passage, make it your own. And Crocs are doing that for kids, which I love. Well, welcome. I see you're at Hermosa right now.
I am.
How's it going this morning?
Things are on pace.
Okay.
Things are controlled and things are on pace, so I'm not stressed.
When you say they're on pace, yeah, we're going to talk today. So for listeners, I just want to sort of introduce you by way of saying how I know you. And I've had the pleasure of kind of following your life from afar, what you share in the grid on Instagram. But about a year ago, I moved into this house in Oak Park and I was planning my boyfriend's birthday party. It was my first birthday party to plan of his. And if there's one thing about me, I love celebrating. And so I looked up, what are some interesting experiences in Chicago that are sort of unexpected and not loud? I mean, just to be fair, right? We can have a group, but we can also all talk to each other at the same time. And so I found you by way of, the 25 best new restaurants in Chicago last year. And then I emailed you, and what really stuck with me, Ethan, is how gracious and responsive and caring you were over email to not just say, yes, we'd love to have you and host you in our private dining room, but also like, how can I be helpful with drink pairings? How can I be helpful, with expanding the tables, which now I know you seat 12. So you're getting even bigger. So I want folks just to know, because this podcast is all about like who's missing from your life, from your boardroom table, from your friendship group, that, I come to you by way of great admiration for you as an entrepreneur and also someone who's had food in your life, and food means more than, just nourishment, and for people to consider what they can learn from their local restaurateur. So that's how I know you. Anything you want to add to that? Did I miss anything?
No, I think you covered it.
Yeah. You said before that, you're on pace, so you're not stressed.
Yeah.
So tell me what it means to be on pace. On pace for what? How do you describe that?
I try to give my morning somewhat of a structure in terms of the time I arrive into the city and start my workday. And when traffic just flows and things just flow right, where you have enough time to like slow down and also observe what's going on around you. That's like, it's a good pace. So you're not functioning in an environment where you're trying to accomplish so much within a short time.
So as you chose the stress of the commute and opening Hermosa, which has been around for how long?
8 years.
Right. Committing to someone, which has its own stress. Did you find yourself saying no to other stress in any sort of conscious way? How did you make the decision on what to say yes and no to?
Maybe it's like certain desires, like certain things that I really enjoy. I had to finally just say like, no, right now it's fine. I don't need it. And those sort of emotional fulfillment of buying a nice outfit from Prada, for example. Like, am I really going to be stressed because I don't have the current season's shoes?
Yeah.
Been there, done that, had it. It was nice. But now it's understanding for me, it's like, okay, well, there was a stress, I guess, to constantly having to work to get the current collection, to be able to afford the current collection. You come to realize that it's like, okay, well, what is more important now? And going into it with the mentality that you're investing the time and energy into both, for me, the restaurant and a partner. For me, it's like the stress was worth it.
I've talked to a lot of people about deciding on what's worth it and how you know something is worth it. Do you have any sort of internal calculus about how you know that? Like a lot of times when we talk about stress, we talk about how we feel, we talk about maladaptive habits, great habits, but like, how do you know something's worth it?
I tend to be very objective. So I'm also very solution-minded. The best approach to solution-minded in terms of not wasting some of my own time is trying to be as objective as possible and to understand different measures where if there's an issue, for example, if I am in a position where there's a conflict to a relationship, regardless of where the person may be, if we can be objective as to what the conflict is to minimize and alleviate the stress of being in a conflict, that's how my approach is. And that follows suit when it comes to work as well, to running a business. What objectively is it the time management of how we are producing things? Is it the lack of attention, or is it we are putting an amount of time to make sure everything's right? So how do you build that as well?
The conception people have of like opening a restaurant, running a restaurant being really stressful, a lot of that I'm sure is thanks to what we witness on TV. How do you relate to the stress in your own industry and maybe what outsiders think about it?
There's a lot that happens behind the scenes. A lot of it is very much time-based, a lot of value within a short time period as well. And the more experience-driven restaurants, there are a lot of details into individual service pieces and the cleaning standards of those service pieces, downright to the fabrication of the food. So there's a lot going on within a short time period. But from the guest's perspective, you just go in and you're taken care of.
Yeah. Arnie still says his birthday dinner there is the best meal he's ever had. So I I think about, the pressure of, in a good way, again, we're talking about stress, right? So this good stress of like that being what you want people to experience, you're not trying to be like in the middle, you're trying to be the best people have had. Is that fair to say, or would you refute that?
Perhaps a combination of, if we break it down to its most core point as well, is your guest is committing their time of anywhere from 4 to 6 hours of their time with people who oftentimes they are not able to see on a frequent basis. So you're sort of their connecting point for the evening. So contractually and as a commitment wise and as a business wise, I have to view that they are there to just have a pleasant experience. And how can we approach it? By relieving as many negative introductions. Let's try to remove that as much going into it. And let's, fill in all the wonderful details and, start painting a picture from there.
I can't help but ask about your experiences growing up in the industry too, knowing that you have a family who's deeply embedded in hospitality around the city, and curious what you observed in terms of how your family in this business dealt with stress growing up. What was a particularly stressful time for your folks going through, building their own restaurant? And then what sort of wisdom do you think your family has imparted you with in terms of like how to choose your stress and manage what's most fulfilling for you?
The biggest stress point, I think, for me, seeing my parents as they kind of ventured through with the restaurant stuff. And when I was much younger, there was definitely a language barrier in terms of parents and the general public. They speak Chinese and Cambodian, and trying to delegate what they wanted to be done to their kids as they're growing up and translating as well. So them as business owners and we as translators, but yet still executing the task. It was a very interesting observation. I wish there was more structured operation in terms of how we were able to communicate, but trying to run a business in a foreign country and navigate through 4 different languages.
Can't imagine.
Yeah. It's also kind of interesting to have conversations with parents where in one sentence, you hear them speak plug-in words, creating a linear sentence with multiple languages. And it's like, oh, it makes sense. It makes sense as we're listening to it and we grew up with it.
Yeah. How did your parents choose to get into the industry? And by way of that, it sounds like you got into the industry.
For mom, like hearing the stories from her childhood and when she was younger with dad, she always loved food. And she's always loved to eat. And she always loved, she wanted more flavor. She always wanted, when someone's cooking for her, she's like, she wants a couple more pieces of shrimp, a little bit more spice, a little more sweetness, just a little bit more of the nice stuff to be as part of it. Yeah. When she and dad got married, that was their go-to. They aren't educated. And the thing that she loved most to do was to cook and to eat. And at the same time, mom has this instinctual wit of running a business as well. Very firm, very tight grip, especially from finances. I am not as much. I'm a little bit more relaxed on the finance part, but she's taught me a lot. And, the firmness and her business wit to it is she has to survive. You got to make it. You got to take care of yourself. So she started cooking. She cooked for everybody. People loved her cooking. In the beginning, just started offering people to taste stuff. And as more of them came back, she was told to charge corporately. And her love of both food and business kind of joined together. I guess I kind of got that from mom. And dad's an awesome cook as well.
You're bringing up, as I'm thinking of Mama Lim cooking, and that being something that can be an outlet for when we feel, stress being this mental tension, right? Caused by a difficult situation that in a lot of meditation circles and a lot of research that we are doing on mindfulness-based stress reduction, right? That power of presence, chopping the thing, just chop the thing.
Yeah.
Sounds like it was a way that she expressed herself, but potentially could also relieve stress for her?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Stress relief. Mom's also really resilient. So growing up in an environment, you had to start a fire with charcoals in order to eat. So be able to plan that and to be able to understand how to hold on to resources. And it's like, you just got to do it. We just need to find the most easiest way to execute that. And we collectively as human, I guess. So how can we nourish people? And if we can nourish people and create a space where make them feel alive, it's a good stress relieving space. And it's a good stress relieving point.
Yeah, there's a real purpose in that. And it's occurring to me as we just, last night we ordered DoorDash. We ordered from Kama Bistro, this Indian place in LaGrange, which has become one of our favorite places. It occurs to me that when you cook, Ethan, and when I came to your restaurant and had this experience, I mean, you're relieving an immense amount of stress for me. You know, I'm taken care of. Like, what an experience, right? To just be taken care of and not have to think about it, offload.
Oh, yeah. You as a host, are creating a center point for everyone to join together.
Yeah.
And you don't want to make sure is the roast in the oven appropriate time, you know?
Yeah.
Is it burnt or is that, whatever the case may be, as much stress we can relieve from the hostess hands, and they can just go back, relax, enjoy it for the rest of the night. It's a wonderful therapy session at the end of the day. So,
yeah, absolutely. Take it or leave it, this idea that stress, well, it's not an idea, the fact that stress is inherent. It's just part of life. And our pursuit of avoiding it might be where we get sick in some ways, or get more stressed because we're not dealing with it. So as you think about how stress has motivated you for good, and certainly stress can motivate us for destruction, do you have an example of how it's motivated you?
If I was to observe different industries that I worked at and the different stress factor to it, accomplishing the task, excelling in the task that's given. Whether when I was selling cars, selling minis and BMWs, I was not going to it with this, I'm going to be a car salesperson and I'm trying to be the top car salesperson. I was like, and those are sometimes the attributes that the general public associates with that car salesperson, sort of relationship. So I've always went into it thinking, okay, cool. If I was to excel in it and do great in it, how can I be a really awesome car salesperson? And the same was when I worked back at house in a kitchen. There's always that challenge to how can I just make this better?
I think other people would be motivated by different things. So like what you're saying, what I'm taking away from this segment is like, know your motivation. Like your motivation being intrinsic sounds like it's been helpful versus that measure that Bill Jacobs might have for you, right? Like, how did I do? Am I being the best that I can be, not the top in the business necessarily? Is that right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because I've used that, well, for me, like at some point I'm going to get bored of a certain process. So it's like, what is the best thing that I have elevated or created from something previously, and how do I make that better? A different experience better. So it's never a point for me when I'm working for part of a team. It's to judge by the standards of, how successful.
By the way, Bill Jacobs, car dealer in Chicago. I just dropped the name. But what did you
I do work for them, though.
Did you really?
Yeah, I sold minis with them.
Oh my gosh.
This is like in early 2000s, 2002, 2003.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you have a sense or anything you would be comfortable sharing about what growth looks like for you?
Well, we operate at there's a lot more time slots in terms of the operation that can be filled here at the shop.
Yeah.
So how can I find different products, services to offer to accommodate guests within and be able to operate within those time periods to accommodate guests?
Tell us about the menu. Tell us about the team. Tell us about what we can expect other than a very structured, hospitable, kind and welcoming experience which we've already gathered from our chat today. The rest of this year into next with Hermosa, and anything else,
I think in terms of the space being literally like a therapy space for a guest to be there for a large part of the day.
Yes.
And just kind of enjoy, have a good time. Experiences are where we've been very fortunate enough to have that be committed, and guests are making commitments far out for us. So that's kind of nice. There's other time periods where we can still operate and function inside the space. So hopefully we can do more like packaged products to go stuff. Your home experiences, it's like a bubble bath, but with food.
I'm into it big time. Yeah. I mean, you say therapy. I mean, I'm there.
Again, going back to personalities, they come from so different, such a broad array of personalities, and they do extremely well in different aspects that I like to see them kind of nurture those aspects a bit more. And I come to recognize where, one of my team members is phenomenal when it comes to structure and detail, like extensive detail, and how to nurture the individual for that. Another individual is phenomenal when it comes to being in presence of guests. What stresses that individual versus what makes that individual excel at, and putting them in environments that they can grow or be comfortable.
Yeah, and be appreciated for what they bring. One of my I love your thoughts on this as like a last thought. I kind of believe that you shouldn't work or be anywhere that asks you to change who you are. And there's a lot of environments that want conformity. If that is the case, you have to change where you are, in my opinion. What do you have to say, if anything, about that?
Yes, I think from a hospitality standpoint, it is so important for me. And I view it from, I'm also very passionate as you're asking me about this. I don't like to step into a space where it is an echo chamber, meaning that the service team, everyone is the same personality with the same speaking style, with the same presentation style. It's like I'm being in a robotic room. It just takes the pleasure out of the experience.
I think it certainly doesn't feel therapeutic as a guest, right?
No.
Yeah. It sounds like another value you have is, authenticity.
Yeah.
For better or for worse, just give us the real deal. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there anything you want to leave us with on this topic of, stress and it being ever present on, how to be planful and objective and embrace that if that's who you are? Anything on your mind before we go? Or promo. I mean, if you want to promo something, right? Why not?
I'll promo Mom because she's the complete nugget of all wisdoms. I think she said from a much younger start, where it's like her little nugget of wisdom with making money in life is that you will never make all the money in the world, but you should be prepared, have a buffer to be prepared, and understanding the differences in that. I think that's a significant stress relief can be used for a good majority of people.
Yeah. Have a plan and be flexible. Right?
Yeah.
Cool. Well, thank you for joining us so much. It was so good to see you again. And I'm like, okay, how do I have to get in now for like 2024? Because we were already talking about coming back. We'll keep you posted. And keeping you. You're such a unique entity, truly. You've built something really special. And I can't say enough about it. So thank you. Really wonderful.
Pleasure.
All right, Ethan, take it easy.
You too.
Ethan, oh my gosh, wasn't he great? Thank you all for listening. Please make sure to subscribe on your favorite podcast platform. And if you want some behind the scene content, you can check us out on Instagram or TikTok at Who's Missing Podcast. We'd love to connect with you in that community. Comment, like, share, you know the deal. We'll talk to you next week.